Hi Bethany. I just want to do a quick video on this little 22 rifle. It's a Remington 550-1. First we want to make sure it's not loaded. There's this chamber handle. You pull it back. You stick your finger in there, look down in the breech. There's nothing in there. Always do that first. Make sure there's nothing in it. I've had this rifle, been shooting this rifle since I was 8 years old. That's what I learned to shoot with. Rick and I both learned to shoot on this rifle. It's 22 caliber, your basic 22, and that's it. That's the round it shoots. A 22 long rifle. They also make a 22 long and a 22 short. This rifle will shoot any of those three, but this is the most common one that you find, the 22 long rifle. Your Savage rifle actually is 22 caliber also. The 22 caliber is the width, the diameter of the projectile. Same diameter projectile in that one, but obviously it's got a huge case and a lot of powder behind it. It's a high powered rifle. This is not. It's your basic 22. Alright. The magazine is this tube underneath the barrel. You turn it up like that, you unscrew it a quarter of a turn, and you pull this rod out. There's a hole right there. See it? When you get the hole up, when you get the rod up far enough, this hole is open. You take your 22s, and you load them in there just like that, drop them in that slot, and they'll drop down here. Eventually the tube will fill up. When you see the top of the bullet, you know it's full. And you push it, the rod back down into the slot, turn it a quarter of a turn to the right. Alright, that's how you load it. It's not loaded. Make sure again, nothing in the chamber. Now if this magazine had ammunition in it and you pulled this back and let it go, it will load one into the chamber and it's ready to fire. So make sure you're not doing that and make sure there's nothing in the magazine. If there are rounds in the magazine you want to get them out, just keep doing that, it'll pop them out. Keep doing that till it's completely empty. Then check and make sure. Then here's the safety right here. Forward. I don't know if you can see that little red dot or not, but if the red's showing, it's ready to fire. Cover the red up and it's safe. Trigger won't pull. Alright, so we know there's nothing in it. I have cocked it. So you pull this back and let it go, it cocks it. It's a striker fired rifle. So it's cocked. Let's push the safety forward to make it ready to fire. We know nothing's in it. Point it in a safe direction. Click. Alright. You're ready to clean it. It's not hard to clean. It's not as easy as that Savage. The Savage, you just open the breech and clean it. But this is a little more complicated. You have to take the stock off, which is just one screw. Right there. Flathead screw. And use the screwdrivers that I gave you. You'll find them in a clear container like this. Gun screwdrivers are different than screwdrivers you find in a hardware store. The tip of them is made different. So don't ever use a regular screwdriver on a gun screw because it'll booger it up every time. Only use gun screwdrivers. So take that big flathead gun screwdriver out. Unscrew this screw right there. Now it's a captive screw, so it won't come all the way out. But eventually it'll come out enough to where your stock is free from the rest of the gun. So I'm going to pull the stock off. Alright. There's the actual gun and the stock. There's the trigger. Alright, set the stock to the side. Next thing we're going to do is take this cap loose. It's just one big screw. Alright. Usually you can it's just hand tight to start unscrewing it counterclockwise. If it is a little tight, There's a slot in it. You can use your screwdriver to get it to where it's loose enough where you can just use your hand. But normally it's just hand tight. So now remember, there's a spring behind this, so it's got quite a few threads on it. But when the threads get to a certain point, this thing is going to want to fly out and hit Finley on top of the head or something. So keep your finger right there, unscrew it. Alright, and there it is. See the threads right there? And there's the spring. Alright, we'll set that down. Now at that point, if you turn the rifle upside down, the firing pin will probably just fall right out of it. Or maybe not. If it doesn't, just grab your bolt handle and pull the bolt back. Let's see if the firing pin falls out. Yep, there's the firing pin. Alright, now when the bolt handle is all the way back, the bolt handle itself will come right out of the gun. There it is. It's got a little flat spot on one side. That flat spot goes up. Alright? Up meaning the top part of the gun here. That's where the flat spot goes. Alright, so you pull that out. Again, the handle has to be all the way back, so do that. We'll take the bolt handle out. Now the bolt should slide right out of the back of the gun. If it doesn't fall out, just take a little screwdriver or something and push it until you see the end of the bolt. Pull the bolt out. Now the slot, you see how it comes out of there. The slot goes down, or sort of the way, direction of the trigger. You pull the bolt all the way out. The firing pin's already out of the bolt. So now it's ready to clean. Alright. So I don't clamp this down, just set it in the vise. There's really no good way to clamp it down. I just set it in there like that. Again, I use Hoppy's number 9. I'll run a couple patches of those in there and let it sit for 2 minutes. And then use a bore brush. After you shoot a hole, bunch through it, maybe 1,000 rounds or so, I use this sweet 762 solvent. It's made to dissolve copper. So if you shoot a lot of full metal jackets through it, after 1,000 rounds or so, 5 or 6 or 10 years down the road, you might want to use this in first. You just, same thing, just run a couple wet swatches of this, let it sit, take the bore brush, run it through it, oily patch or two, and then start on the hoppies. Alright, so normally I don't do the sweets, so I'll start with the Hoppy's number 9. I got some, a little cup over here, and I'm using this fiberglass cleaning rod. Never put anything down the bore of your rifle. The bore meaning the inside of the barrel, unless it's fiberglass. It will ruin the bore of your rifle. Alright, there's a little jig on the end of this that unscrews and screws back on. It's got a little point on it. I got a 22 caliber cleaning patch, little bitty ones. Poke it on there like that. Alright, dip it in the hoppies. Dab it on the towel a little bit. Get your hand kind of close to the muzzle so you don't break the cleaning rod. Push it all the way through. Take the patch off. Back out. Wipe the rod off. Got the patch. Stick it on there. Stick it in the hoppies. And close to the muzzle. Alright. Cleaning rod back down, wipe it off. Wipe it off real good this time. Get all that hoppies off there. We're going to let it sit for a couple of minutes. Then we're going to take this little jig that's on the end of it, we're going to unscrew it, take it off of here, put the little 22 caliber bore brush, same bore brush we used on the Savage. Again, it's the same caliber rifle, just used a completely different cartridge. So we're going to put the bore brush on the end of the cleaning rod. We're going to run it through 2 or 3 times. Got that hoppies in there. This is what really gets it clean. Alright. Wipe that down. Take the bore brush off. Put the little jig back on. Alright. Take another patch. Next time we're going to put oil in it. The oil not only oils it, but it neutralizes that solvent. Stops the corrosiveness of that solvent. Alright, there's one patch of oil. Now you might need to run 20 oily patches through it, maybe even 30 oily patches through it. And you'll know you're done when you push it through and the patch almost has no black on it. It starts looking clean. I'm not going to run 20 or 30 patches through it today. I'm just trying to do this video for you. Alright, so once you're happy, patches start coming out pretty clean. Put one dry patch on it, and just run the dry patch through the hole. You're going to start with your hand close to the muzzle, run through. At that point, it's off, you're finished cleaning the bore of the rifle. Now I'll usually take a Q-tip and stuff and just dip it in a little oil and run it down through here and clean it that way. 20 or 30 Q-tips usually. That's good enough to clean that out with. And it's time to start putting it back together. So how we do that is we take the bolt and see the slot. It's going to go in the rifle this way. But first we have to put the firing pin back in. Now the firing pin has a little flat spot on it. See that little guy sticking up there? That goes right where this slot is in this. And it's not real easy to get in there. You kind of have to play with it a little bit before it slides in there. Take some oil and just rub down these components before you put them back in the gun. You know, clean it off and then put a little oil on the bolt. I forgot to tell you that, but you always want to make sure you put a little oil on the bolt and the firing pin too before you put them back in the gun. Alright, so again, we got to put the firing pin back in the bolt. This little guy is the same way this slot is. Alright, went in there. Let's watch it slide down. See, slid all the way down to there. Now it's ready to go back in the gun. Slot goes the same way, same direction as the trigger. Now, sometimes that'll come up like that. That's where the sear mechanism and stuff is. You want to make sure this part is pushed down like that. Alright? Then put your bolt in. And slide it in. All the way to there, and you'll start feeling some resistance. When you feel that resistance, you got to pull the trigger and push it the rest of the way in. At that point, you can see the hole show up here where the bolt handle goes. Alright? The little flat spot goes up that way. The little flat spot. See the little flat spot? Alright. So, kind of wiggle him in there. Alright, stick it back in the gun. Alright, that's all there is to it. Push the bolt all the way forward. Put the spring assembly back. Now it's kind of hard to get this back in, so you got to be real careful and gentle while you're doing this. Make sure you don't, bend the spring or whatever. Be real careful and do not cross thread this. Make sure it's going real easy when you're turning the threads. There it is. Sweet. Just go real gentle when you first start. If you feel any resistance, loosen it back up and start it again. Alright, if it's going smooth, you're good. Alright, just screw it back all the way down. You don't have to tighten it up with a screwdriver or anything. That's all you got to do right there. Now we're just got to put the stock back on. We're done. Alright, so the trigger, flipping over this way. Pretty obvious where that goes. Alright, there you go. That screw right there, get him started with your fingers. And then a screwdriver, a gun screwdriver, to tighten it up. And again, you don't have to crank it down or anything. It's just got to be nice and snug. Alright, gun's clean. I usually just put a little bit of oil and just run it over the metal parts of the gun. You don't want to use much because you don't want to get that oil on the wood. But just a little bit. So it helps the gun keep from rusting. I'll take a dry rag and wipe everything off. Every once in a while I'll use a little bit of Old English polish on the wood. But I don't do it every time by any means. So it's ready to go, so we just need to check it. It's on fire right now. We'll pull the bolt back and cock it. See if it fires correctly. Yep.